Okay. All right, so just a quick introduction and hello to everyone. I'm Arian Olish. I'm the Director of Vantage Ventures. If you're not familiar with Vantage, we launched just actually a little over a year ago through West Virginia University to help grow and scale startup companies. And as part of that, being in an academic environment, we certainly want to help support researchers and community members that are interested in applying for SBIR and STTR funding. Some of you might be unfamiliar with these grants and this program. So if you are, SBIR and STTR funding has about $3.5 billion to allocate to small businesses through a competitive grant process. Again, for companies that are focused on developing cutting edge and new technology. Again, we're doing this as an effort across West Virginia to help increase the number of SBIRs and STTRs that are awarded to the state. This is our third of 4 scheduled webinars we have this semester. We have one additional one in a few more weeks, so be on the lookout for emails to register for that one as well. But Chris Ogwin today is here from the Department of Energy to talk about kind of best practices with them in applying for these SBIRs and STTRs. Just a few logistical comments for today's session. I am recording this, so we will have a recorded presentation to distribute afterwards. I will also be facilitating question and answer. So if you have any questions, if you want to go ahead and type them into that chat function in your Zoom program, I will go ahead and keep track of those. I'll let Chris get through his presentation, and then I'll just read those questions at the end in the order that they came in. So feel free to have put questions there. I'll also go ahead and type my email into that chat function so that you have that. If you have any questions or want to follow up, if you want any more information after today's seminar, please feel free to email me and I can certainly help you as best possible. So again, today I'd like to welcome Chris. He's principally responsible for managing the DOE, Department of Energy, SBIR, STTR Outreach and Assistance Program. He facilitates a nationwide effort to develop and increase its underrepresented small business research functions. And it sounds like, Chris, you have been with the Department of Energy for quite a while. So you must like it, I'm assuming. And we are so appreciative to have you here today. Really thank you for the time to share this with us. I know it's very valuable for our community members to hear kind of, again, best practices and your take on how to apply for this program. So without any further comments from me, I'm going to go ahead and turn my video off and turn things over to Chris.
Thanks, Ariana, and thank you for inviting us. We always like to reach out to the surrounding states. Specifically, it used to be nice because the travel was an easy one to do from Germantown, Maryland. But in general, my role at the DOE is in the SBIR STTR programs office is to do mostly outreach. I used to be in charge of our commercialization assistance program. I'm still in charge of a phase 0 program, and I'll talk a little bit about both of those as I go through my presentation. Yeah, I have been at DOE a very long time. When I started at DOE many years back, I had a full head of hair and I didn't wear glasses. And the reason I bring that up is, well, I feel like I'm becoming an old man quickly, but I do retire in December. So this is one of my last presentations. So it's kind of, well, thank you. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. And yeah, I do enjoy working at DOE. I've done many different things over the years, but let me just go ahead and get started. What I like to do is, let me start my timer here. What I like to do is provide context to what we are and who we are and how we fit in with other agencies. And I think what you see here ultimately is that there are 2 different types of agencies in the SBIR and STTR programs, and those in blue are primarily contracting agencies. They do their SBIR awards and grants. Those in green, as the Department of Energy is there, are those that provide grants. And the difference is a big difference, okay? So in terms of context, it's good to understand, because if you're interested in applying for a SBIR or STTR grant or contract, you need to know how it fits in with your overall business plan and goals and objectives and what you're trying to do. A grant is by its very definition, financial public assistance to help that agency do research in support of its mission. And our mission is defined fairly, very specifically, and I'll touch upon that in just a second. The contracting agencies, you're supporting their mission as well, but what you're doing is, for example, the Department of Defense, they're going to want you to hit the ground running after a phase 2 award. You get phase 1 for up to a year and phase 2 up to another 2 years. They're going to want you to maybe develop a very specific product for them, maybe a blood coagulant, and they want to get it into the hands of the warfighter as quickly as possible. So if you're able to manufacture, find someone to manufacture what you're doing and get it into the hands of the warfighter, then those are the type of agencies you're going to want to be looking at, those that primarily are doing contracts. At DOE, you're supporting our research, so it's a little longer in terms of our horizon on what you're doing for us. We're not necessarily looking for you to produce anything because we don't buy anything. Almost 98%, that's 95% is what I usually say. We just don't buy. We don't procure what you develop for us. You're supporting our research, and that's what we're most interested in that way. So DOE is a granting agency, and right now we have about 308 million. That's what our budget is for. Currently, that's what it is. I changed that number. It used to be at 280 in FY 2018. The other agencies have gone up as well, and I know that there's probably about a little over 4 billion now that's available coming out of all the agencies that is available to you as a small business. So let's move on to the next screen. So DOE is a mission-driven agency. Everything that we do is designed to support this very specific mission. Every agency is trying to ensure the security and prosperity of some way of whether you're a taxpayer, a US citizen, but we do it by addressing the energy, environmental, and nuclear challenges. And we do it with science and engineering. And I know when many people think about the Department of Energy, they think that we're all about renewable energy, and that's just a small part of what we do. So what I like to do, again, in regards to the context, is give you a better idea of how the Department of Energy is set up, because the better you understand what that specific program that you might be trying to support, let's say it's the Office of Fossil Energy, if you're trying to support that if you're applying to one of their topics, it's best to understand what they're trying to do for the Department of Energy. So the better you understand what they're trying to do, the better you are able to develop your proposal in a way that would be most responsive to what we are looking for. So that said, there are 3 goals at the Department of Energy. And this first one's all about transforming our energy systems and making sure that we use our traditional energy sources more efficiently and effectively. And we do that through I think 5 programs here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 5 programs are really our applied research programs. And the Office of Electricity recently broke into 2 offices because cybersecurity of our grid was very, very important. So they broke it up and broke them into 2. And as they have done at the DOE for many, many, many years, they break programs up and they put them back together. It just depends on the administration and the current national need at the time. So this you'll find many different types of topics that each of these programs put out, but you'll find similar technologies that might be used, that you might be able to use in each of these. And sensor-based technology is an example that would probably fit in every single one of these programs. And I'll talk a little bit more in detail about these programs too. So the 12 programs at DOE, 5 of them are addressing this overall goal here of transforming our energy systems. The next one is all about basic science research. And So we play a big role in basic science and engineering, and there's physics, there's nuclear physics, there's chemistry, there's material sciences, um, biological and environmental sciences, advanced scientific computing research, and those are the 6 programs that are addressing that overall goal there in blue. So most of those all of them really are basic science research programs, whereas the first 5 are the applied programs. The last 2 programs are these 2 right here, and Defense Nuclear Nonproliferation is part of the National Nuclear Security Administration, which is primarily exempt from participating in SBIR, STTR, because and both of these programs really are, because they are working on the nation's nuclear defense, and and those programs are the defense, nuclear defense is exempt. So, but they still have parts of their programs that participate that are more civilian-based programs, and so you'll find both of these programs here. And incidentally, those two last programs there make up about 2/3 of the Department of Energy's budget, but they're exempt from participating. So it's those are the 12 programs. Those what are the ones that participate at DOE, and all of our topics are written by these programs in conjunction with many of their national labs that they work with, or some of the research universities where they're doing some big dollar grants. So what I can show you here is, and I'll give you just a quick rundown. Well, it's not that quick for me, I guess, in terms of what these programs focus on. You can see these research areas. So the Office of Cybersecurity used to be part of the Office of Electricity, and I'll cover that, I think, next. But we pulled out, as I mentioned earlier, the cybersecurity of the grid is you know, is basically falling apart, and it's antiquated, and it's kind of a patchwork, nationwide patchwork. So there's a lot of work and emphasis going into trying to not just maintain this, but to ensure its reliability, especially in times of disruption. And over the last 10 years, we've seen quite a bit of disruption. And usually it's not a cyber-related incident, but it's very vulnerable to those type of issues. So if we move on to the Office of Electricity, they're all about modernizing the electric grid, and they do that in many different ways, or several different ways. But some of the topics you'll find here are about making the grid smarter, more efficient, providing energy storage, and I think specifically for the grid for very short peak loads using flywheels and longer term storage grids technologies and that are renewable, like batteries, compressed air, hydro power. So they have, that's what the overall mission of the Office of Electricity is about. Their topics are related to that mission, which again works toward the first goal that we looked at earlier. The next one is our most popular program, the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy. And they are all about, let me just check my time here. They're all about, well, and doing things more efficiently and about the renewable energy that you see there. So they are all about making our buildings more efficient, the building envelope, HVAC, lighting, integrating all of the sensors that you can run a smart building in together to run as one unit. They have some very cool topics. They do more efficient vehicles, whether it's hybrid vehicle technologies, and they do fuel cells as part of that. And they have an advanced manufacturing, where they're, of course, trying to be more efficient in industrial processes. And of course, the regular renewables that we're all familiar with. The Office of Fossil Energy, many of you may be aware, the National Energy Technology Lab is part of the DOE, and it's funded principally through our Office of Fossil Energy. That's where most of its funding comes from. And they're all about using our carbon-based fuels more efficiently. So you're starting to see how these all relate to one another, whether we're dealing with energy security and prosperity, as I noted earlier, but they're all about making everything more efficient, effective, safer, and reliable. And it's all designed to help US citizens lead a more healthy way of living, and so forth. At least that's what we put down on paper. That's why I say that. So our Office of Nuclear Energy, again, is it's ensuring the safe operations of all the nation's nuclear reactors. So we want to make sure what is on the ground and operating now remains safe. And these are our power plants. So that we are also in the design phases. We have been, ever since I've been at the DOE, of developing more cost-effective reactors for the future. So SBIR, they have focused topics on advanced sensor systems, monitoring reactor performance and status. We like to keep, as well as our fossil energy has a lot of those sensor-based technologies where we want to keep boots off the ground. We want to be able to do it from one area, maintain and be aware of status and address issues from a centralized location versus people having to wander around all the plants to do that. As we go on, we move into the second goal, and I'm going to just tell you a little bit about the 6 programs here. Advanced Scientific Computing Research is a program that's focused on high performance computing and networking. So they do a lot of challenging computation for advanced simulation, advanced modeling, and big data analysis. We have some of the fastest computers in the world at some of our facilities here. And we do a lot of user facilities for research that we provide to you if you're doing research in any area that might be related to computing and analysis. This program goes across all of the basic science and some of our applied research programs by providing simulation and modeling for those programs as well. So it's a pretty cool program and has a lot of opportunity there if you're deploying high-speed networks, and again, a lot of sensor-based technology. The IoT, Internet of Things, is here. Big data is here, and you'll find their topics come out normally in July of each year. The next program here is our base. This is the biggest research program at DOE. It's a little over $2 billion program, and BES funds the development of advanced user facilities that use X-rays, neutrons, electrons to probe the structure of matter, as well as basic research in chemistry, material science, geosciences, and it's all about how it relates to the production and storage of energy. And very cool. What you'll find this program, it's a big basic science research program. They have a lot of money that has to be set aside for SBIR and STTR, and what they end up doing is co-funding other applied programs. They fund fossil energy, they fund nuclear energy, and so they fund other programs. So when I talk to you about our topics and how we release those, you'll find that basic energy sciences, you may not know this, but they will be funding another program. So if you are looking for something in our topics, what I tell people to do is do word searches with PDF documents. Do a word search based on your technology or innovation or whatever you're working on. And might be surprised that it doesn't end up landing in an area that you thought it would land in. And there's other opportunities and programs that you just didn't think would have any applicability to what you're doing. So the Office of Biological and Environmental Research, it supports production of biofuels as well as environmental research. It includes climate change modeling, subsurface subsurface contamination, what happens in terms of fate and transport of what's leaching into the ground, or our movement in that way. Again, more sensor technologies there. Very cool. And so our Office of Fusion Energy Sciences, our Office of High Energy Physics, and our Office of Nuclear Physics, these are all fundamental physics research programs. They're looking at what's happening at the nuclear and elementary particle level. These are kind of niche programs. If you're doing research in one of these areas right now as a physicist, usually these are the programs that you tend to be attracted to, and the ones that most people aren't able to address, because unless they are a physicist working out of this. Many of these small businesses emanate from our labs. People leave the labs and they start their own small businesses, and they are working in some capacity in one of these programs at a very at a very specific level of research. And lastly, our Office of Defense Nuclear Nonproliferation is all about detecting and preventing the illicit transfer of nuclear materials and weapons across our borders, as well as doing remote detection of any nuclear detonations. So when a nuclear detonation goes off, it's usually a Department of Technology, a Department of Energy program that funded the technology that is sensing that. We have space-based sensing as well that is part of what this program does here. And of course, our legacy of over 70 years of manufacturing and producing nuclear weapons is what the DOE was all about in the beginning under the Atomic Energy Commission until the 70s. We still did that, but we started to integrate other aspects. And then finally in 79, we became the Department of Energy, and we where fossil energy came into it, nuclear energy, defense and nuclear programs came together as one agency, cabinet level agency. But this is a big program that's cleaning up and decommissioning these nuclear and chemical sites. And again, looking for very resilient type of sensor-based technology. That seems to be my word of the day, is sensors. But you'll find a lot of that in both of our releases. So let me just move on. I guess ultimately, the better you understand what you're trying to do and achieve for the program manager that has written this topic, and the better you will write that competitive proposal, a competitive proposal that could be responsive. And so all the information you need is on our website. It just takes some time. I let everybody know. I try to let people know. A takeaway from one of these is that these webinars or presentations is that it's best not to look at every agency. If you're working on wind turbines, for example, or that might not be a good one, but let's go with sensor-based technology again. It's best to find one or two agencies that you think you can be responsive to and focus on what they are all about. Focus on their process, focus in terms of submitting an application, because we all work under the same enabling legislation, but we implement our programs radically differently. And that's where the grants and contracts falls into place. We all use the same criteria. Is it a good idea? This is how we evaluate your proposal. Is it a good idea? Do you have the right team and facilities in place to do what you say you're going to do? And what will be the impact and the success if you are successful? And when will you be successful? Is it 10 years out, 20 years out? We're just trying to get a better understanding as if whether you know where you're going with this. So find that agency or two, focus on them, and that way you'll be less confused when you try to understand what you're doing and how to register your company, what your overall function is in terms of whether or not I'm trying to achieve marketable products immediately versus just do research right now for my small business. It depends. So you find that agency, get to know how it works, and you'll stand a better chance of not wasting your time and resources submitting an application to it. At DOE, we are kind of a decentralized operation in terms of our SBIR and STTR programs. I work in the box at the bottom there. This is my office. We develop all the funding opportunity announcements. We manage the whole cats and dogs that happen here. We have over 100 program managers that are part of the DOE program office up there. They develop the topics. We'll let them know that last year you had enough funding for this many topics. This year you have enough funding for this many topics. You didn't get any applications for this subtopic. You might want to combine these two. You might want to look at it differently. We let them know. We're kind of like the dashboard for them. They'll identify the reviewers, but my office will then do the logistics of pulling together all the reviewers for everything that comes through. They will recommend awards. They'll manage the projects once they become awards. The DOE Chicago office is the office you'll deal with once you've been selected for award. And they do that from all the way from negotiation all the way down to closing out the grant. They're the office that you'll deal with. And we're just the office that you'll come through. We'll let you know all about the process. We tell you how it works, what registrations you need to go through. We just tell you all the soup to nuts on the DOE SBIR STTR process. If you want to look at this, compare it to the National Science Foundation. So in my office at the bottom there's 5 of us that manage everything in these other 2 boxes. We oversee, administer is really the better word. We have over 100 program managers, and the Chicago office is a big office that has quite a few contract officers. At the National Science Foundation, I believe they have 12 program managers, and they're involved from the very beginning they do outreach all the way to grant closeout. And so they're doing everything. They do commercialization, they manage the project, they find the peer reviews, peer reviewers, they oversee the review process, then they make the selections for these awards. So it's a little different on how we all do this. And again, it's good to know, I think good to know that. So every year we have these 12 research programs that are participating. We put out 2 releases of topics a year. In July, we put out our Release 1 topics, and those are the 4 programs that participate they're the 4 programs that participate in Release 1. And there's usually about 35 topics in each of these releases, and there's probably close to 200 combined, to over 240 plus subtopics to each of those topics. So there's a lot of detail that goes into putting together a topic with its subtopics. But those are the programs that participate. In November, our Release 2 topics will be out. This November 9th, is when we release those. And that's when what I would encourage you to do if you are interested in seeing what those topics are, just go anywhere on the DOE SBIR website, and lower left usually is a place to subscribe to our mail list. If you do that, you can just pick, I only want to receive funding opportunity announcements, and I'll go ahead and send you on November 9th a link that goes to the topics the day that they're released. We also have topic webinars where you get to listen to the topic managers talk very specifically about that technology. And primarily they'll tell you what they don't want to see, what they've funded before, and what they want to fund now, what they're looking for. And we tell you when you read these topics to take them literally as they're written, because that's what we're looking for. It's very, very specific. So this is the schedule for a Release 1 on the left and a Release 2 on the right there. And as you can see, on the 9th is when the topics are released. But actually, this cycle does not begin until the FOA is released over here on December 14th. So you have about a month to do a little due diligence with our topics to kind of better understand whether or not you think you have something that could be responsive to what we're looking for. Because what we tell you, again, take them literally as they're written. If you think you can do that, you best understand what you're trying to achieve. and what your technology, what your capabilities are, where you are with your small business or not. And you can make that determination yourself. You don't even need to talk to us about it, because we tell you, again, if you read it and you think you can do it, then there you go. That's a good thing. You know, you can listen to the webinars. We have other information you can read to see if you're better aligned to it. But ultimately, it's a decision that you can make yourself. This is something, if you're a first-time applicant to the DOE, this is just the assistance that we provide in that little white box of those 3 boxes I was talking about. This is our office. You can talk to a real person Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5. They will answer the phone. They will talk to you about the process, about how to apply, and what forms are all about, everything about that. We also have a great online learning system. This SBIR learning website has got over 35 tutorials, short tutorials. We have a schedule from when the topics are released all the way to when you submit an application, and we put the tutorials in line with that whole schedule. So we help you kind of organize your schedule to better respond to what is needed to be responded to at any point in the application process. Because the last thing you want to do is wait to the very end just before you submit to find out that you haven't registered for the SAMS system, the System for Award Management. It's a federal system that you need to receive a registration for. Uncle Sam wants to know where all its money's going, so there's quite a few registrations that you have to complete, mandatory registrations. They want to know what type of small business is applying for its money and what type of small business is getting grants or contracts. So these are things that will tell you now's the time to focus on it, because some of these registrations can take 45 days to go through. So it's best to be prepared. Again, it's good to understand who you're applying to and what are the time frames for each of those. This last one here is very cool. The Phase Zero Application Assistance Program. This is a program that I've managed since 2014, and it was created for people just like you who have never applied to DOE before. You're a first-time applicant, and what we'll do is provide you up to $5,000 worth of assistance, in-kind assistance, to put together that competitive application. We're trying to put you on the same playing field as those companies that have been applying, that have more experience at applying, that may have received awards. And we work with you on proposal prep. We work with you in reviewing that. We work with you on a letter of intent, which I'll cover in just a second. We help you with a little bit of market research. We'll let you talk to someone about your intellectual property posturing, where you are with that. There's a lot of, we help you with your indirect rates, your budget, stuff that most of us don't understand. As you're putting it together, it can be very overwhelming. So this is a very cool one. The date that our topics are released is the date that this application assistance, the Phase Zero, opens up. And so on November 9th, it'll open up again for the release 2 topics that are put out there. This slide 23 is something you'll want to keep handy if you're interested in DOE. Good information on what you can find about applying with DOE. I've kind of covered some of this. I won't stay too long on it, but what I'll say to you here is a second bullet. Open communication. This is another difference between grants and contracts. The date the topics are released all the way until you either submit an application or the application process due date comes and it closes. You can talk to the topic manager. You can converse with them. You can share emails very specifically about your technology and what you're trying to do. And he or she will not share that with anybody. On the other side of the aisle is our contracts. And now what you're doing is to develop basically you're working toward developing a product, not necessarily in your proof of concept in Phase 1, but after Phase 2 you will be. So it's really a different type of competition. And so any question you ask an agency that uses contracting instruments for SBIR or STTR, they have to post your question and their response to it publicly. So anybody that sees that it's all available, all questions and answers are available to everybody who is applying to that one solicitation. So that's different here with a granting contract, with a granting agency. An example topic, what you'll see over here at the top, we always have a topic title. We have this blue header that tells you the maximum phase 1 and phase 2 award amount. We do up to 200,000 in phase 1 for up to a year. And in phase 2, we go up to $1.6 million. And that's all different for every agency. Not every agency does 200,000. Some do 250,000. Some do 150,000 still. Depends on how large their budget is and what they're trying to achieve overall. So not every agency, there's only 5 STTR agencies. And the reason why we have an STTR program is because we have more than $1 billion that goes out extramurally to in research and development outside of the agency, whether it's going to a national lab or whether it's going to a research institute or university. So those that have meet that threshold have an STTR program, and those that don't have an STTR program. So, however, not every program at DOE accepts STTR applications. And that's another conversation for later. But that's what that blue header is all about. So then we have a topic description. Then we have subtopics underneath that. We have an A and B that tell you very specifically what we are seeking. And then following that is a point of contact. And you'll see that you can email these topic managers directly. Whether they respond to you is another question. They don't all respond to me when I go out to them. So some of them really love to talk with you, especially in our applied research, because they don't know what innovative things are happening until they talk to you. They find a lot of good innovative things happening out there in regards to their areas when they talk to you. Basic science research people like to be left alone, in my opinion, and they just want to do their research. So whether a basic science person will talk to you or refer you to a lab person is another story. But we have something called an other subtopic that you'll find in many of the programs. And this is our way of addressing the criticism that DOE is too narrow. I can't get my solar research into you because you aren't looking for what I am doing in solar research. We have these other topics that says, look, if we don't have a subtopic for you, but you think it fits the overall topic description, not the subtopic, then you can apply to this subtopic, the other subtopic. And so it's an opportunity for you to submit an application. And we find that now, we've been doing this for about 4 years, that we are funding these at a very similar level to the other subtopics, because we are getting things in here that we didn't realize was either being done or it is addressing the need in a novel way, and so it can be funded. So we have something called a technology transfer opportunity. These are opportunities for you to leverage what we have done, what we have. Usually it's technology and inventions and things that we have been developed with Department of Energy funding at one of our national labs or research institutions. So it's a way for you to, I think, leverage this research and development to get a head start on what you're doing, or a jump start, head start, to bringing your technology or a new technology to market. Very cool. You will receive a license to do research and development on it with this, and it's usually a single based license to do the research that you're doing for this topic. You'll receive a no-cost opportunity to license this technology, a 6-month opportunity to license it. It's not giving you commercial rights. It's not giving you rights to license, manufacture, or sell anything, but it certainly is giving you an in to what we have and access to something that has been developed and that can help you move forward more quickly. I will just tell you, and I'm talking quickly because this is usually an hour-long presentation, and I am talking quickly. I'm glad you're recording this. You're welcome to reach out to me after this event too, and we can. And I do talk more slowly. We can have a more in-depth conversation about anything I've talked about here. But in the funding opportunity announcement, what you'll find here is everything you need to know about how the SBIR, STTR programs work. What are the eligibility requirements? What are the mandatory requirements to submitting an application, whether it's registrations, whether it's a commercialization plan, how long is that commercialization plan, how long is the project narrative, a lot of good stuff. And we try to write it in a way that it makes sense, because I know a lot of these funding opportunities look like a big long contract. But again, you have opportunity to get clarification on these topics and by talking to our topic managers all the way through the application process here. A letter of intent. DOE is the only agency at the moment that requires you submit a letter of intent, and essentially it is something after the topics come, after the funding opportunity announcement opens up, a couple weeks after, 2 to 3 weeks afterwards, you have to submit a letter of intent that says, this is who I am, this is who my company is, this is the topic and subtopic, and this is why I think I'm responsive to this subtopic here. Really, we will let you know if it appears that you're not responsive to what we're seeking, but we won't let you know if you are responsive or not. We're not trying to make a determination for you. This is something that we use because we only have 90 days from the point that you submit an application to the point that we notify you about whether you're getting award. And we typically have to do this because we find about 75% of you that submit a letter of intent will submit a full application. So when you submit this, that's when we start looking for our reviewers and for what topic and subtopic. And we know who's generally what's going to be submitted, the volume. And that's why we have this. It can be kind of confusing because people are always looking for feedback, but you only get feedback if you appear to be non-responsive. DOE, we've limited it. It might seem like a lot if you're not even a small business yet, but we've limited you to submitting only 10 applications per funding opportunity announcement. We used to get up to 50 and 60 from larger small businesses. And remember, a small business is less than 500 employees. So there's a lot of those out there that are participating in the program. Again, more information about some of the important elements of your application, and you can find, again, this is all in the funding opportunity announcement. You can go through here. We have a key table of documents that tell you about what's required and what you're going to need to do to get that submitted to us. People always want to know about our what are the biggest errors? What are my biggest lessons learned? And it's about the registrations, not doing it soon enough, not renewing certain registrations prior to submitting an application, not submitting a letter of intent, but submitting an application. You didn't do your your level of effort properly. There's a certain amount of funding that needs to go to a small business, and there's a certain amount that you're eligible to give to a third party. And in a phase one, it's essentially 2/3 of the research effort needs to be done by the small business. Maybe you've exceeded the maximum award amount and are not, you're immediately administratively declined for that. And you may have spent well over 100 hours putting together an application. And so these are things why I tell you it's best to know how that agency operates and making sure you methodically go through the checklist before you submit a full application to make sure you're not meeting some of these errors that we have here. Another thing about DOE is you can submit one application to both an SBI to be considered for both SBIR and STTR. Some agencies, especially the contracting agencies, have 2 separate solicitations for their SBIR and STTR programs. We have it combined as one, and you can submit one application. You just need to make sure you meet the level of effort and the employment requirements. Your PI needs to be employed with a small business if you want to be considered for both at the same time. So if we don't select you for an STTR, then your principal investigator can't be, and we're going to select you for an SBIR, your principal investigator can't be employed with the research institution in that case. So there are some minimum requirements you need to meet when you do that. And again, that's what you need to understand before you submit. And I know I'm basically up to my 40 minutes here, but what I want to do is, there are a few more slides, but and these slides here, you can see that we use try to put 3 reviewers on every application. Again, there's a review criteria. We equally weight this. Not everybody equally weights those 3 review criteria. They do it differently. The National Science Foundation, even we do it a little differently when you do something called a phase 2C, which is a third phase 2 that you can get under the same phase 1 topic that you submitted to. Where do our reviewers come from? Most of them come from our national labs, but a great majority of them also come from the universities that receive grants from us as well. What are my chances of getting an award? If you look over in FY20, there were 1,600 applications. We made 414 awards. That would be 26% of these applicants received a phase 1 award. But look underneath that. What you see there is something we called recommended for funding, not awarded. It's almost another 20%. These numbers are usually fairly closely aligned, equal. Another greater, 19%, they were recommended for award, but they didn't rank high enough to receive an award. So we let you know that now, versus we used to just say not funded, and you would like, well, how close was I? And this is about as close as we will tell you to saying that you were pretty close to being funded. What we find is the more you apply, the greater your chance, of course, maybe that's what an easier way to say it, of being selected for an award. You have about a 20% chance or so of getting selected the first time you submit an application. And you have about a 35% with each successive application you submit to us of being selected. Because what you're doing is taking the reviewer comments, you're finding that specific subtopic that really works for you, and you're getting a better understanding of what's being sought, again, when it comes back to you with the feedback from the reviewers. And so you're able to adapt your application based on that information. We do offer commercialization assistance, $6,500 in phase 1 and $50,000 in phase 2. And we are interested in you commercializing what you do. Again, you can be funded up to 7 years under the same topic. Again, this is a research mission that DOE has, and we know that there's a longer span of time that it takes to achieve basically what we're trying to do with research. And if you're a researcher, you understand that. This is basically the award timeline. I'll let you look through that, but we offer phase 2s, the initial phase 2s. We offer after that, we'll offer a phase 2A or B, and phase 2A is to do additional research and development to complete that prototype. And phase 2B is really to get ready to commercialize your innovation. You're moving closer to that. Those are your second phase 2s. We have a phase 2C after your phase 2A or B that you can apply for. And that's when you're going to bring funds to the table from a partner or an investor of some sort, and we'll match that. That's it. I'll leave the questions up here, our point of contact information. You can reach out to us anytime, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5 here on Eastern time, and we'll be happy to chat with you about that. Don't forget our phase 0 program. Okay.
Fantastic. Thanks, Chris. That was really thorough and a lot of really fantastic information. So I hope everybody enjoyed that and learned learned about this program, because it really is a phenomenal opportunity. I'm going to give everybody just a few questions here to get some questions in the chat. I know we only have a couple minutes before we finish up, but Chris, I just had one question, and I know you talked about it a little bit, but maybe could you just elaborate briefly the Phase Zero Award Assistance Program? What can those funds be used for?
Well, it's in-kind assistance. It's a
Okay.
good question. It's in-kind assistance. And what we do is we have a contractor. Dawnbreaker is our contractor that we use, and they provide this assistance nationwide to you. When the topics are released, you submit this application. Very cool website. It's on my best looking website that I have here. When you click on that, what you'll find is a good description of what we provide. There's an application process you go through. It takes about 2 minutes to apply for this program. You'll get, what happens is you say, this is who I am, this is the topic and subtopic, I'm a first-time applicant. And then you'll get contacted by Dawnbreaker, and Dawnbreaker will work with you to provide that letter of intent support. They'll help you write that letter of intent. No, they won't write it for you, but they'll make sure it's articulating what you're trying to articulate, making sure you're understood. It's another set of eyes on that. So that's what they begin with, and they start helping you with the registrations, the mandatory registrations, walking you through that process, and then working with you in terms of preparing your proposal, putting you on a timeline, and helping you, not just focus, but helping you kind of as a teammate to do this in a way that makes you a more, focused person in putting and applying to, our program.
Great. Yeah, so I would encourage everyone, if you are eligible to apply for that program and thinking about applying, that sounds like a really fantastic program. So Chris, thanks for sharing that. Speaking of timelines here, what, and I think this is always a really good thing for researchers and our community members to keep in mind. What is on average a timeline that you suggest from kind of the day you start preparing an application to when the application's actually already due? How many months should you back that process out?
That's a good question, and it depends. If this is the first time you've done this, what I tell you is, again, find that agency. If it's the Department of Energy, and you start doing your due diligence, and this can take many months this can take years. I'm sorry, it can take a long time for you to really understand DOE, because what happens after you listen to 4 of these presentations, you're either going to run away from this process because you'll be like, this is crazy. Everyone does this thing so differently. I don't know where I'm going to start. Or you can say, I can do this, but I have to work through it methodically. And so what I would say, if you've never applied before, you're going to need a couple months prior to the topics being released to understand about, you can look at last year's topics. You can look at the awards we've provided. We have a sortable spreadsheet for 5 years that show you all the awards we've made in what topics and subtopics, so you can get an idea of what's been funded by what company and what their project summary is, and whether or not you think you have a novel innovation. And so the better you understand yourself and what the DOE is all about, it makes it easier with each successive application. So it depends on if there's 3 of you, or if there's only just you in your small business. If you can assign someone to the National Science Foundation and another person to DOE, that they're going to be your experts on the process for those agency, and you can focus on developing a proposal based on their guidance. So it really depends on the makeup of the company, the age. Is it an emerging new company, or is it a mature company? But it does take time, no matter, it all comes down to time. And depending on where you are, you'll just have to figure that out for yourself. We have a schedule. If you go to our website that I'm pointing out there on the screen, that shows you the SBIR learning website, you'll see the schedule, and it'll give you an idea where you should be focusing at what point from the time the topics are out. That's a great place to start too, because it starts with a simple quiz. Am I even eligible to submit? Am I even the right person? and small business. Maybe I'm not even a small business yet, but it helps you understand all of that, where you are in the process and what you're going to be up against to submit an application.
Okay, great. Well, it looks like we are actually at our 1 o'clock time here. So I think we'll wrap things up. But Chris, thank you again so much for presenting, taking the time. We really appreciate it. For everyone who's joined us, thank you for joining in. As I mentioned at the beginning, we did record this, so the recording will be distributed if you registered for today's webinar. It will also be on the Office of Technology Transfer website here within the next few days under their programming tab, so feel free to look there. And as I mentioned, we do have one more of these. Our next one is the National Science Foundation, and that'll be the first week of November, so please be on the lookout for that email. But again, Chris, thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking the time. And again, congratulations that you'll be retiring here soon.
Oh, yeah. Good luck to everybody, too. And thanks again for inviting me.
Thank you. Okay, everybody, take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.